Of course, the orca that we have here, we are most famous for our southern residents. Now, those southern resident orca are JK and L pod. There's about 73 individuals of their orca. They are a threatened orca species, mainly because their diet, which is 95% king or Chinook salmon, our largest salmon, is also a threatened species. So they specifically kind of dine on that salmon, and because that salmon is struggling, they are struggling as well. So it's really important for us to keep our salmon population healthy, to keep our orca healthy. You might have heard in the news recently of the particular orca named Lolita that's in the Miami Aquarium that's going to be released. She actually has connections to the Pacific Northwest. She was actually taken from here as a baby. She's been living in the Miami Aquarium for over 50 years. I think she's about 56 years old. She will actually be brought back up here and reintroduced to her family pod up here, which is going to be really amazing. So, of course, that is a process. You cannot just get an orca in captivity and re-release it back into the wild. She'll be taught how to hunt again, and she'll be put in a pen where she can be in her natural waters and still hear her family's communications, and eventually she'll be released back into Puget Sound. So that's going to be really exciting. Now, the other orca we have here are known as transient or Biggs, B-I-G-G-S. Now, those Biggs orca, they are named after Michael Biggs, a researcher that did tons of research on different orca species. And those transient orca, they're doing very well. Now, mainly why they're doing so well is they eat things like harbor seals, California sea lions, so they eat those larger marine mammals, and they move around a lot more. So we have both of those particular kind of orca in our region. They look a lot alike, but they have different languages, so they actually cannot communicate with each other at all. So very unique, of course. Orcas are considered one of the smartest marine mammals of the sea. They are definitely family-oriented, and they are a matriarchal species, which means the most important member of the orca are actually the grandmother. Those grandmother orca live to be sometimes 100 years or more. In fact, Lolita from the Miami Aquarium had said that her mother is possibly still alive up here, so that would be pretty remarkable. So those grandmother orca pass on the knowledge of fishing areas to the younger orca, and so they're very important as a species. Now, off to the left, we have a great view of our downtown city skyline, and we're about midship to that Space Needle. Now, if you visited Seattle before, you might be looking at the Space Needle and wondering if that orange color is new. It is new, but they're actually going to be repainting it back to the original color pretty soon. But that top orange color now is actually one of the very original colors of 1962, referred to as Galaxy Gold. Now, the Space Needle was built for that 1962 World's Fair, and all the colors of the Space Needle at that time reflected the theme of space, technology moving to the future. So Galaxy Gold was one color, astronaut white, which are the legs that we see right now of that building, re-entry red, and orbital olive were a couple of other colors. But in the next month or so, they're going to paint that Galaxy Gold, that kind of vintage tangerine color at the top, back to astronaut white. Now, that particular building, about 605 feet tall, and of course you can take an elevator up there, checking out the whole city views at that 500-foot level. Now, if you have a city pass, that's part of that city pass, so definitely worth going up there and just enjoying the views up there on that rotating floor. Now, off to our right-hand side, we do have our landmass just ahead of us about 2 o'clock. That is West Seattle. West Seattle is actually not an island. It kind of looks like one, but it is connected to the land, and you can get over there by way of West Seattle Bridge directly in front of us, or the West Seattle water taxi. That's a water taxi you're going to see out here in the water. It's kind of a smaller white vessel with a flat blue roof. That'll take you over to West Seattle. West Seattle is the site of a very important part of history. That spit of land farthest to the right that you can see there, with the trees and the buildings at the very end there, that is known as Alki Point. Alki Point is the site of the first non-native white settlers that arrived here. They were called the Denny Party. And they came here by way of wagon through the Oregon Trail. They actually landed in the Willamette Valley there. Too crowded for them in Oregon and the Willamette Valley. They continued on, landing here in November. Now, this was the mid-1850s, of course, and they had a lot of trouble along the way of their journey. Their troubles continued when they got here. They didn't know this land at all, and they didn't have a lot of the things they were used to. But lucky for them, they met some people that had been living here for thousands of years, who are known as the first peoples of Seattle, and that is the Duwamish tribe and their chief, Chief Self. Now, the Duwamish tribe were really instrumental in helping the Denny Party. They showed them where to fish, They showed them where to cut down trees to build homes, but probably the most important thing that the Duwamish tribe did to help the Denny party was they suggested that they leave that spit of land, move over to the left, over to Pioneer Square, our oldest neighborhood, and create a community over there, which the Denny party did. So as a way of kind of honoring that tribe, they wanted to name the city after the chief, but Chief South's name is a little bit difficult to say. The language of the Duwamish people is called Wishootseed. It's very difficult to pronounce unless you're raised to speak it. And the Denny party had trouble saying the chief's name as well. So they changed the chief's name from Chief Sealth to Chief Seattle, and that is how we got our name as a city. We're named after the chief or tribal leader of the Duwamish and Suquamish people. Now those Duwamish people are considered the first peoples of Seattle, and the land we're on today is Duwamish land. If you want to learn a little bit more about the Duwamish tribe and their chief, you can certainly head over to West Seattle off to the right and visit the Duwamish Longhouse and Cultural Center. It's an absolutely stunning building, but more importantly, inside is a really rich history of the Duwamish people and their connection to this land since time immemorial. So I highly encourage you to do that to learn a lot more about the first peoples of Seattle. Now with that, I'm going to hop off the mic and let you just enjoy the views. There's quite a few vessels out here on the water. This is a great time to ask me any questions. If you're feeling chilly, it's a great time to grab a cup of coffee or a cup of hot chocolate as well. Use the restroom as an option as well. And I'll be back on the mic in just a few minutes.
Mochi, Bubble, Mochi.